Welcome, goddesses, queens, and warriors. Today's episode of Get It Girl is a very special one, and not just because it's a Zoom show, but because I have a very special guest, someone who has gone through something unimaginable, yet one of the most inspiring, positive women I have ever met. Let's welcome Tamara Mena.
Oh, thank you. So sweet. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So for the people that don't know you, why don't you tell us your story?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, especially during these times. So I know we've been trying to plan this, but I think this is maybe the perfect time because everyone is going through so much. This coronavirus has changed our whole world upside down for everyone, regardless of the industry that you're in or the country. It's changing everyone's world, and it's been hard to stay up. It's so I can kind of relate it in some sense to my accident, because right before my accident, I felt like me sentía bien super mujer. I really felt like I was like I felt like I had everything that I was been planning for like a few years. Everything was working out exactly the way I wanted, such as like moving to San Diego. I had wanted to move there for a long time, so I just moved to San Diego, had just become independent. I was 19. I'd only been living there for 3 months, so I really thought like everything was working out the way I wanted it. And in a second, like my whole world changed. And you never think it's gonna happen to you. You never think it could be you. That's the thing. I just felt like I was able-bodied my whole life, so I had no friends, no experience with anyone with a disability, and now I feel kind of, in some way, there's a little bit of shame now, because I wish it just opened my eyes to how little I knew, which is why I now share my story and share about people with disabilities, because I feel like we're very out of sight, out of mind. My accident changed me in seconds. We were on our way to Rosarito Beach, and we didn't want to drink and drive, so we grabbed a taxi. We drove to the border and grabbed a taxi in Mexico, thinking this way would be safer, because we were very cautious about not drinking and driving. And we were just going to have fun. And we were almost to our destination. We were still on the highway when we like randomly crashed with a horse that was just standing in the middle of the road. And then from that, like the impact was fatal. The horse fell on top of the roof, my side, the left side, and crushed the roof like all the way down to seat level where I was. So every time I say this part, I kid you not, I get chills, because every time I say this part, it reminds me how thankful, how lucky I am to be alive, especially with such damage. And my boyfriend was next to me, my boyfriend Patrick, and unfortunately he didn't make it, or the taxi driver, just because the damage was so bad on our side. Mm-hmm. So losing him was like the biggest pain, way more than losing my ability to walk, but it also gave me strength, because I just felt like I had to be thankful for this opportunity, this second chance that I got that they didn't get. So just like you were saying, Dia, it's perspective, and your attitude is everything, because I know we're all gonna face difficult moments. Maybe some people will face worse tragedies than others, but I mean, life is up and down, it's not just uphill for anyone. We all struggle in different ways, but the way you see yourself within whatever's happening, and the way you see your life, like really truly matters. And I think I really knew I had to push forward for me and for him, like in his honor. But also my family, like having their support, especially my mom, she's my rock. She really motivated me ever since I was young, taught me like, that's why women empowerment really means so much to me, which is great to be here, because my mom raised me pretty much on her own, and she just taught me to be strong and taught me to believe in myself. But when that happened, I really needed her, and she was there by my side. And also my mom, speaking of women, she has 8 sisters, and they all, like, todas mis tías, they're tías madrinas, they're awesome, really. Like, I got so much support from them, and they really have taught me also to be strong.
Now, talking a little bit about motivation, you said that your mother motivated you. After your accident, was it something that you immediately had motivation, or did you have kind of a dark time where you had to pick yourself up? Because I know that after that you pursued a communications degree. Was that immediate, or who
No,
motivated you? How were you motivated to do that?
it was tough, girl. Like, I the first 2 years were very difficult, and those are the most difficult years, especially when you have a life-changing tragedy where just your whole world and body. I think one of the most challenging things for me has been that my mind wants to go, 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 and my body's like, no, because at the end of the day, I live with a disability every day. Stuff that people don't know. I have chronic pain all the time. I have spasms. There's so many things about a spinal cord injury, how it affects your body. UTIs are common. Like, there's so many things. So the first 2 years, my body was in shock, like adapting to this injury, and so was I. There's so many things, and it's hard for the family too, because they were helping me, but it was also hard for them because it's so overwhelming. And the first 2 years I was very sick. I had to have a few different surgeries. I was getting a lot of UTIs, like really, really bad UTIs, which I would be very sick. I'd end up in ICU often. So I was really motivated, but like when I was in rehab and I got out and I'm thinking, okay, I want to drive. I learned that you can drive with hand controls. I was like, I'm ready. Let's do it. Well, that turned into like 2 years. Like, I wasn't able to do that. So that was very tough because I would see my friends like graduating from college. And that was like my priority. Like, prior to my accident, I was going to college full time and working full time. So I just wanted to get back to school and finish that for me and for Pat. So the fact that I couldn't go back for the first 2 years was like so difficult, and it's so tough to not compare yourself. And mind you, I was 19, Patrick was 21, so most of our friends were turning 21. And you know that age. That's an age that everyone wants to party and of course enjoy, like, being 21. Girl, it was so tough. Like, I remember being so sick, and social media was just kind of starting, but I remember seeing my friends at the lake, and here I was, couldn't even move. It was tough. And you also learn who your friends are. I would say that I lost some friends, like they weren't the friends that I thought, but I also gained other friends. A lot of people showed me support, and all of Pat's friends and family, like, they really tried to be there for me. But it was a tough time because they were grieving the loss of their friend, and every time they would see me, I was a huge reminder of what happened to him. So at that time I didn't understand it, so I took things more personal. Now I understand it because they're also grieving me, because I was always super active. We would go camping, and now here I am in a chair, and there's certain things I can't do the way I used to do them. So everyone is having to adjust. And that's the thing that I didn't realize back then. So if anyone is listening to this, hopefully this can be encouragement, because it's a journey that everyone is affected by, which is why it's important to talk about this, because you never think you can be disabled, or your family, like, you never think it could be you. And I've learned of people that were fine, kind of like me, and like there's so many different types of disabilities that can affect your body, like all of a sudden, you know, there's invisible illnesses or disabilities, like you just never know. But regardless of what happens to you, regardless of the disability, just because your life now changes doesn't mean you are no longer capable of accomplishing things, doesn't mean you no longer matter, which is why it's so important that my mission has been, one of my missions, other than just motivating and inspiring people, but it is to raise awareness so that we can have more disability representation and inclusion in entertainment, because it's really important, because it shapes the way you see yourself.
Speaking of moving forward, you just directed, I see that you directed and produced a short film. I definitely want to hear about that. How did that come about? Tell us about that.
2 years ago, I produced my first, well, with the help of a team, but I didn't know what I was doing. I produced a short film for the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge, and this challenge, the whole goal is to promote diversity and inclusion. It was started by Nick Novicki. He's an actor and comedian himself. He's a little person, and he saw the huge lack of inclusion in Hollywood. So he created this to give this platform to people with disabilities to create their own short films. So I did this 2 years ago, and I didn't know what I was doing, really. I'd never done anything like that, but I had an idea, and it was really cool. It was about women empowerment with Drew Presta. She's a little person, and she's amazing. And so we did this, and from that I was nominated Best Actress, and I was just like I never expected that. This year is different because they're normally short films, but because of COVID-19 and how it's affected all of our lives, they did a short documentary edition, so that people could do, something safer with not like a big crew, and just something that maybe you could do from home. But I decided to do it, and I produced it and directed it, and it was a challenge, I will tell you that. Actually, it's on my YouTube, a behind the scenes video, just to give people a little glimpse of what the process was like and what I struggled with. But we completed it barely on time, and all of those documentaries will be shared on the Disability Film Challenge pages.
Awesome. No, and that goes to show, again, to try something new, to do something we've never done. Like when I started my YouTube channel, I didn't know how to edit videos. I didn't know how to shoot videos. The most important thing is for us to find the courage within us to just take that first step. No matter if you don't know what you're doing, because proof shows that both of us didn't know what we were doing, and yet it manifested, right?
Right.
And speaking of Hollywood, do you think that we're becoming more inclusive, or are we still far off from being more inclusive in Hollywood?
I think we're starting to see more inclusivity. Like, for example, last year was a good year for me. I went to a lot more castings and booked several castings. Right before quarantine, I was booked as a guest star in a TV show, LA's Finest, and that was really, really cool.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you. It's it's for the second season, the finale. I'll be in the second season finale, but it's only for Spectrum. This series was just created for Spectrum, and I don't have Spectrum, so. But it was really cool, and I do want to share a story about that. I was so excited that they booked someone in a wheelchair. They wanted an actress in a wheelchair, so I was all excited. And once I was there was he was a producer and showrunner in a wheelchair, and I was surprised by it. And the way once you've been in this community, you kind of know the wheelchairs and things like that. And to me, it just seemed like maybe it was something maybe temporary. Maybe I was just judging real quick. but I didn't think he was like gonna be in a wheelchair for a long time. Next thing you know, I was talking to him and he showed me he's an amputee. I just didn't see his prosthesis because he had genes. And long story short, he got injured on the job this show, and so became disabled or became part of the disability community while doing this show as a producer and showrunner and writer. And after this, he was like his eyes opened and he was like, we got to have more inclusion and diversity and representation. And I was telling him, thank you for what you're doing, this is awesome. And he said, I wish I didn't have to go through that to do this. He said that, and it just like marked me, those words, because I kind of feel like I agree with him. It shouldn't be like until you're affected that then you think about people like myself. So that is why even doing an interview like this matters. So anyone who's watching us, whether you're in entertainment or not, we need more, just more disability inclusion in all areas of life, not just in entertainment. And I think there's a lot of people I see my community, there's a lot of amazing people, very capable. They have background, they have the preparation. I have a degree in communication. I faced a lot of discrimination as a host in a wheelchair. Why? It shouldn't matter. If you have what it takes, you shouldn't be denied an opportunity just because of having a disability.
Now I want to play, though, a little game with you, just so people will get to know you a little bit more. The game is going to be, what would Tamara do? And I'm going to give you some hypothetical situations. Just kind of say the first thing that comes to mind. I want to see just things that you would do in these situations. So the first one is, what would Tamara do if she became the president of the United States? What would be the first thing that you do?
Well, I would do just that. I would make sure that there are more opportunities, real employment opportunities for people with disabilities and from diverse backgrounds. I would, that's probably the first thing I would do. That's a hard job. I have a lot of respect, well, not for current president, but I have a lot of respect for, I don't think I could do that, but yes, if I was.
Yeah, I love that. And what would Tamara do if she had all the money in the world?
I would love, my mom is my motivation. So I would buy her a house. That's probably the first thing I just want to give back to her. And, travel, would love to travel more. But I also really want to help people. And that's one thing that I really struggle with, because I'm in a position where, as a public figure, sometimes, for example, I'm sponsored by a great wheelchair company, and I'm so thankful for these opportunities, but not everyone gets this opportunity, and it crushes me, because having, as another important thing to touch on, having a nice wheelchair, like a light wheelchair, it's not a luxury, although it seems like it is for insurance companies. It's a necessity. It's not a luxury. So if I had a lot of money, I would love to help more people.
So what would Tamara do if she can live anywhere on the planet? Where would it be?
It would have to be accessible. I think I would live here, although maybe there's other countries that I haven't actually gone to that are accessible. I love Mexico. I would love to have like a vacation home. Like, I mean, no hay otro Mexico. I love it, but it's not accessible, and I hate being held back. I just want to know that if I step outside, but you know what I mean? If I roll outside on my own, that I can go down the sidewalk, which I don't get to do that in Mexico. It's like, there's no ramps. So probably the US for that reason.
Would it be like California, or like what state?
I love California. I love the weather. I think I would stay here.
Yeah, same. It's really hard for me to want to go live somewhere else. California has the best weather. And I mean, weather makes you feel happy, and you can work out
That's
outdoors.
so taxes, right?
Yeah, except the taxes, right? Yeah, and the housing, how much it costs to buy a house. Ah.
Yeah.
And now, what would Tamara do if you could be anybody? Who would you choose and why? If you could be anybody for a day.
I really admire J-Lo. I would love to be her for one day just to see. I mean, I think as a Latina, I mean, I'm so proud of what she's accomplished, and I would love to see how she does it.
Right? No, yeah, I admired JLo for the longest until I met her, to be honest. When I met her, she wasn't as kind and loving as she seems on camera.
Oh,
She was
I
like,
don't like.
I mean,
I
I
don't,
just think that, being famous for that long, it probably gets kind of annoying to have all these people like obsessed with her like I was. So I was the same though. I would love to have been JLo until I met her. And then I
but
met her and Cardi B on the same day, and Cardi B was the best. Cardi B was like, hey. But JLo was
see,
kind of like, como que te mira para arriba y para abajo, like she just kind of looks at you like, I don't know. I've heard a lot of hosts have really bad interactions with her, but again, we don't know what this woman's gone through, so we can't really judge it. Being famous for that long, I'm sure takes a toll on you. Well, thank you so much, Tamara, for like being with us today, for sharing your story. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Get It Girl. Don't forget to follow us on social media under Get It Girl TV, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
bye. Thank you.